I'm, I'm not saying it like that, producer Landon. Good Lord. Hey guys. Man, I do gotta get a haircut. Look at that back there. Decided to try it live. It's been a while in the new studio and everything else. I think a lot of people do live streams, the shows, and I find a lot of it just doesn't work. I don't think it translates. I think segments and pieces do. I don't know if the whole show does, but I want to try it. What if I'm wrong? And what could I do to make it you know, more valuable? That's the question. So I'm gonna try some things. See what kind of trouble I get into. A very, very bad set of interviews for Kamala Harris. This could not have gone worse. All they wanted to do was keep her away from the press as much as humanly possible. Keep her away from the press, keep her away from media, keep her away from answering questions. And if you do that, if you play the Joe Biden game, you have an opportunity for victory. Joe Biden proved it in 2020. Why can't Kamala Harris prove it in 2024? It's all you have to do. And then I think they took a look at numbers. And the numbers don't play great. They don't. I get that there are people who tell you that, my gosh, there's nothing but opportunity here. Nothing but opportunity here for Kamala Harris and oh, there are great things happening and great opportunities and if she just sticks with it, I mean, you've got Jonathan Chait writing that she's running this world-class campaign. Oh, holy heck. This is what we're going to be led to believe? Well, then she does the Call Her Daddy podcast. Then she does 60 Minutes. Then she does The View. And it's just not good stuff.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
If I'm a member of the Harris team at that moment, I'm looking for which one of my wrists I'm going to put an end to it all. Tony Katz today. What's going on, everybody? I shouldn't joke about suicide. That's real and it's ugly. And you shouldn't, there's a better way for me to say that. Oh, they've just rammed their head against the wall. That'll work. That's better. They have been desperate to keep Kamala Harris away from Biden, show a separation. She's her own woman. When she's elected, she's going to do this and she's going to do that. And she wasn't even there for 3.5 years, nearly 4 years, on the decisions that have absolutely destroyed the economy. Not there, nowhere near it. Why would anybody say so? And the Biden team, they're the ones. They are the ones who have been kind of undercutting her at every single turn. They're the ones who've been saying, oh, there's no daylight between Team Biden and Team Harris. Well, we're the same people. You know what? People often think we're twins. I'm assuming that's something Joe Biden has said. Joe Biden said that in a meeting, and people said, oh, sir, if you want more ice cream, you'll never say that again. I'm assuming that's how the conversation went down. You have Sunny Hostin asking a question that, did she not know it was innocuous? Is there anything you would have done something differently? If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years? Kamala Harris, there is not a thing that comes to mind. That is the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan. That is the southern border. That is the economy and Bidenomics. You mean on the subjects that matter? On the subjects that move us? There's no difference? Okay. We're going to remember that. We are going to remember that. We're going to remember that well. That you are the one who isn't making the daylight. That you are the one who is quite clearly saying that everything that's happened in this Biden world, you know what? That's all because of me. That is all because of me. Happy to do it, proud to do it, thrilled to do it. Now, the 60 Minutes interview, when I tell you it was an absolute and unmitigated disaster. I do not joke about these things. I cannot make this stuff up. I would have no way of doing so. Unmitigated disaster. So let's start with the conversation. I think this is the one about immigration.
No. Ukraine must have a say in the future of Ukraine.
As president, would you support the effort to expand NATO to include Ukraine?
Those are all issues that we will deal with if and when it arrives at that point. Right now, we are supporting Ukraine's ability to defend itself against Russia's unprovoked aggression. Donald Trump, if he were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. He talks about, oh, he can end it on day one. You know what that is? It's about surrender. No. Ukraine must have a say in the future of Ukraine.
As president.
Let me, for a moment, share with you that she has no answer for that question. And she's very, very clear about that. The idea that Putin would be sitting in Kyiv is to the idea that somehow Putin would have invaded if Trump was in power. This is literally the crux of the Trump foreign policy argument, that if Trump was in power, none of this would have happened. So when Kamala Harris makes the argument that if X, then Y, if Trump, then this, the easy response is, you're in charge, and look what's happening. A long, protracted war that has cost the American people billions of dollars and has no end in sight, except, of course, for Vladimir Putin giving up, not Vladimir Putin, Vladimir Zelensky giving up land. That's what's going to happen. That's, of course, what's going to happen. Now, I thought that was the immigration one. Maybe this is the immigration one.
The critics and the columnists say.
Okay.
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things.
That's not the immigration one. That's okay. But I swear to you, if you are not sitting down in a place that has some kind of padding all around you to help you deal with how you're going to bang your head into the wall, find that, grab a pillow, or I don't know, maybe somebody thick. That's not an insult. And be ready. Are you ready? Are you there? Are you there? Are you ready? Okay, let's begin.
You were against fracking. Now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies. Now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all. Now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for. And I know you've heard that.
In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States. And I have been traveling our country. And I have been listening to folks and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground. I believe in building consensus. We are a diverse people, geographically, regionally, in terms of where we are in our backgrounds. And what the American people do want is that we have leaders who can build consensus, where we can figure out compromise and understand it's not a bad thing, as long as you don't compromise your values, to find common sense solutions. And that
is she making the argument that in touring the country, she heard I should say something else, and then I should also say at the same time, I haven't given up on any of my own values? That's exactly what she's doing. Exactly what she's saying. She is making the statement that what I learned is I have to moderate every position, but I never have to actually change a single position. As a matter of fact, I think it's Jonathan Chait. I think Sarah, do me a favor. Sarah runs all our digital stuff. I think he's writing not the Washington Post. I think he's writing the New Yorker or the Intelligencer. See if you can find that and throw that onto TonyKatz.com and throw it in the comments as we're live streaming. His argument is she's run a brilliant campaign by portraying herself as a centrist. They are so joyous about lying and saying that they're lying and informing everybody that they're lying and not giving a good holy you know what about the lie itself. Just put it out there. Ta-da! She knows she's lying. She knows she's giving it a moderate position. Where was the clip from her where she talks about I got it right here. Where she's like, oh yeah, guns. I love guns and I've got guns and pew pew pew, bang to bang bang. And she's all about the firearms now. How in the world does that gain a single progressive vote? And the answer is they don't have to worry about a single progressive vote. They have got every single progressive vote. They're good there. What they need is somebody gullible enough to believe that somehow Kamala Harris is in favor of gun rights. Who in their right mind would ever believe Kamala Harris on this?
When you know what that is, it's about surrender.
A hard left turn here, but you recently surprised people when you said that you are a gun owner. And then if someone came into your
That
house,
was not the first time I've
they would get
talked
shot.
about it. That's not the first time I've talked about it.
So what kind of gun do you own, and when and why did you get it?
I have a Glock, and I've had it for quite some time.
She's so street. I'm surprised she didn't go all Nick Kroll, blap, 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 hit it sideways. I've got a Glock. I assume she says Glock because it was easier to say than 6 Hour. This is going to be my assumption.
And I mean, look, Bill, my background is in law enforcement, and so there you go.
Have you ever fired it?
Yes. Of course I have.
Oh, I didn't mean to laugh like Kamala Harris. That is such a great question. By the way, Bill Whitaker, 60 Minutes, crushing, absolutely crushing with the questions here. Like real reporting. It's Bravo kind of stuff. Have you ever shot it? Is so great. Asking the question we would all ask if we had the chance. Really and truly. Well, I've been teasing this immigration thing. Let me hear if this is it.
That has been my approach.
But one issue that has proven impervious to compromise is immigration. Over the past 4 years, the Biden-Harris approach has been inconsistent, and Republicans are convinced immigration is the vice president's Achilles heel. You recently visited the southern border and embraced President Biden's recent crackdown on asylum seekers. And that crackdown produced an almost immediate and dramatic decrease in the number of border crossings. If that's the right answer now, why didn't your administration take those steps in 2021?
It's the question you would ask. How good is that question? Take a moment. There's actual journalism. Oh, the whole CBS thing right now with Tony Dokapol and the conversation. I always thought his name was Tanishi Coates. Now I'm saying, people are saying it's pronounced differently, and I want to make sure I get the pronunciation right. But he's got this new book. He went to Israel for like a week and a half, and he is determined that the Israelis are running an apartheid state, and they're terrible, this, that, the other, and your mother. And this reporter is like, well, okay, you wrote this book, but you didn't bring up this, you didn't bring up that, you didn't bring up this, you didn't bring up that. And CBS has quite literally lost their mind over it. We have to hold up ethical standards, and we have to be sure we're treating people respectfully and not bring our biases in. It's a reporter asking questions. And that's Bill Whitaker here. And I mean, bravo. But to Kamala Harris's answer.
The first bill we proposed to Congress was to fix our broken immigration system. knowing that if you want to actually fix it, we need Congress to act. It was not taken up. Fast forward to a moment when a bipartisan group of members of the United States Senate, including one of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, got together, came up with a border security bill. Well, guess what happened? Donald Trump got word that this bill was afoot and could be passed, and he wants to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. So he told his buddies in Congress, kill the bill, don't let it move forward.
But
Has not moved the needle at all. This ridiculous argument. The argument is you could have done anything in the administration, the Harris-Biden administration, anytime you chose. Why did you wait so long? And by the way, the action that you took proves that you could have done anything about it.
I've been covering the border for years. And so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem.
The answer is yes, it was a mistake. We just can't admit to it. We can't admit to the fact that the Biden team could not just listen to the Trump team and keep those policies in place. That's all it would take. All it would take, and all they should have done. But they can't win on the immigration front, and they can't win with Kamala Harris answering questions because she can't. She cannot do it. Walz, which is a whole different story. Tim Walz, he at least comes across as a little folksy. Kamala Harris comes across as completely incapable of dealing with the question at hand because she is. Bad week of interviews, and I assume the last week. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. All right, so I don't know if everybody can hear me or not. I just took a little break from streaming. And not bad for our first stream in like ever. So wait, Sarah is telling me that my break music is choppy. Oh, so when I'm talking, you compete with me. I get it. I get what's happening. We'll fix that. First of all, glad you're here. Welcome, Tony Katz. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. If you comment, I do indeed see it. So you can throw a comment in there wherever it is you're watching. I'd love to know where people are watching. I usually send these things to Rumble as well, but something went amiss and I realized the problem there. So I'll get that fixed. But we're there at the YouTube. Penny, good to see you. How are you? We are on the X, Tom Bodie, who I've known for forever. I mean, I have known that cigar smoker a good long time. Miles, good to see you on Facebook there as well. Andrew, who hates Trump. Well, welcome. It's always good to have you. Why not? So just curious as to where people are watching and how they're getting the information. And is this something that builds into your life? And I do the show from noon to 3. And I do a morning show in Indianapolis, and I do a midday show that's heard across the country as we're trying to grow. And should it be this hour? Should it be the 1 o'clock hour or 2 o'clock hour? You tell me. You tell me, and maybe we'll just keep the thing going. What do I have? Yes, Hurricane Milton coming up with that. I don't know. Can you hear that audio? I don't know if you guys can hear that. But we'll get to that because this Milton thing is just flat out brutal at this stage of the game. Biden is supposed to give remarks on infrastructure and the economy in Wisconsin. Are you telling me that you need Biden on the trail to win Wisconsin? And there is a Wisconsin story about Tammy Baldwin, the senator, and how the Cook Political Report has now shifted that race, that Senate race. She's going up against a guy by the name of Eric Hovde. They shifted it from lean Democrat to toss-up. Maybe that's why Biden's there. Although I don't think Biden moves the needle in the slightest. We're going to get back to doing some radio. Let's get to it. Appreciate the comments. And hello, Allison from Indiana. It's good to see you. I've always said that. I said it's always good to see Allison from Indiana. You know, how many times have I said that? Like a million times. It's always good to see Allison from Indiana. It is. It truly is. So I can't talk over the music, but I can have music. That's enough. Hurricane Milton. This thing is massive. And there's fear mongering. And then there's, you know what? This is rare stuff. Tony Katz today. And it is very, very rare stuff that we're seeing here because the power of the storm. I mean, you had winds that showed up at 180 miles an hour. There's a conversation that you have to start creating a category 6 because I think it's like 150 miles an hour above. They say category 5. Well, now if you've got 180, what do you do with that? And there have been giant storms before. This is in the record of the top 5 lowest barometers, millibars that they've ever seen. The lower the millibars, the lower that barometric pressure, the more intense the storm. So this thing is going to go directly through the width of Florida. It's going to hit Tampa, and no, storms don't hit Tampa. That's just not the way that storms work. I lived in Tampa for years. They always avoid Tampa Bay. Always they go south, they go north, whatever it is. But this is going to hit straight on. The storm surge is going to be massive. You're seeing, I think the seas, I should say, the storm surge in terms of height in that Tampa Bay area, 10 to 15 feet. 6 to 10 as you get into Fort Myers, 4 to 7 feet in Naples, 5 to 10 feet in the areas north. That would be Pasco to, I think, Hernando County. There, I told you, I lived in Florida. I know things. It's just going to be ugly. And it's going across with such power that it's expected to be a category 1 on the other side, meaning it won't go down to tropical storm level. It's going to keep its strength. The effect here on all of us, us Midwest people and others, is that there's going to be rebuilding, just like we know in North Carolina, just like we know in Georgia. And pretty soon, that home project you've got, where you're looking for sheetrock or you're looking for decking or whatever the case may be, the supplies and the workforce is all going to be in the Southeast. There's going to be real work for a solid 6 months, and people are going to feast when they can on the work. That is if the insurance companies pay, which is the only part of this that DeSantis really has to figure out how to fight, because everything else he seems to have under control. This is Tony Katz today. All right, so we're taking the commercial break right now. I'm going to take a break for a moment. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And we'll be right back. I have heard enough of that. I was grabbing some audio from this interview Elon Musk did with Tucker. And Tucker can have any conversation he chooses. And just like anybody else who puts anything into the public sphere, you should expect that there will be some people who have issues with what you say and think that you're mistaken. Certainly, if you want to argue that the American left is more of a threat than Iran, you can. I'm not going to play it that way. I'm going to say that it's very clear that if you have an American left not willing to fight for the country, that is dangerous. And it is. Iran is, of course, through the proxies of Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthi rebels and the terrorism that they support, they are indeed a threat. I didn't even think that was something that was shocking. So with that, and I'm going to get into more on this coming up. I want to share some things that got said. I'll get to that. Here we go. There was this story that, my goodness gracious, Donald Trump wants to defund Planned Parenthood. And the question is, why is anybody shocked by this? It was a Newsmax story, I believe. It was there on Newsmax, and it said Vance, meaning J.D. Vance, the vice presidential nominee. He suggests that Trump would indeed defund Planned Parenthood. Good. So he should. Tony Katz today. What's going on, everybody? Good to be with you. Find everything over at TonyKatz.com. Get the podcast wherever it is you get your podcast. Just look for Tony Katz today. Subscribe and download, and then subscribe on YouTube as well. Tony Katz TV. I don't even know what we call it. Sarah, you'll tell me. And subscribe and like it. We've been growing there. We have not been bothered. And so far, so good. We'll just get it under the radar right there. Yeah, so this headline, Vance suggests Trump would defend Planned Parenthood. I don't understand why this is in any way shocking. To the extent that the federal government gives Planned Parenthood any money, there should be no money given. And if people demand funding of Planned Parenthood, tell Oprah to give the money. What did I say something funny? I don't want to pay for Planned Parenthood. I don't believe that they actually provide the good health care that saves lives as much as they are an abortion factory. And I think that there are other places that can save lives and help women and men and girls and boys and infants in need. So let's go help them. But let's do it with private charity, not with federal dollars. I don't want to play around with federal dollars. I don't want federal dollars involved in this because I don't want to see the federal government involved in a morality conversation outside of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is exactly about the pursuit of happiness, because otherwise you're forcing a woman to give birth. Oh, it gets ugly from there, doesn't it? It gets ugly from there because, well, it's about pulling at the heartstrings as opposed to recognizing where America is. I'm a pro-life guy. I recognize that at any moment you're discussing abortion, it's murder. And I love the fact that there are people who tell me I'm not allowed to have this conversation. You're a man, stay in your lane. You don't get to have an opinion. Of course I do. And the ladies who don't like it, I don't care about you at all. You actually think you have the right to silence another human being and prevent them from utilizing the gray matter and having an opinion on a subject? You think that you can do that based on genitalia? Sorry, you are not the kind of person I listen to. You're too weird. You're too authoritarian. You're too ridiculous and too not in control of your emotions. Because somebody who's in control of their emotions lets other people have an opinion, and then you agree and you disagree, and you try and persuade people to your point of view and to your philosophy. That's how it's supposed to work. Oh, you're a man. You don't get to have a say. Yeah, I absolutely do. And saying that I don't get to have a say is weird. And you sound like a bunch of freaks. And I don't plan on paying attention to you. So, to hell with you. Just that's the answer for them. But the argument is that America is in favor of exceptions. America is absolutely in favor of we always say rape, incest, life of the mother, right? Those are the ones. And we go through that so quickly. Do you know how awful all those scenarios are? How absolutely horrific? How I am thankful that never once have I had that situation. But I will tell you that I don't know what my reaction would be in any one of those situations. I don't have an answer for you. Now, sometimes there are things that, hey, I've never experienced, but I still know that this is wrong. It is still killing. If we could just start with that basic premise, that we recognize that there is killing when you have an abortion, the conversation would go easier. I think, I can't get the political left to change their mind on this, but just the admission of what we're talking about here would go a long way. I think in a recognition of what's going on. What the left wants to do is pretend that not only is it not killing, not only is it not killing, as a matter of fact, we don't even discuss it like that. We don't recognize it like that. We attack people for bringing science to the table. I'm old enough to remember when science was settled about climate change and science was settled about COVID vaccines. Yet somehow the science of babies not yet settled. The science of what is a woman, nowhere near settled. But the science of what is a baby, don't be silly. The country wants exceptions. And I think the country is going to get what it wants. And there are states right now that have heartbeat bills and legislation and 4 weeks and 6 weeks. I think you will see over time those states expand out to 8, 10, 12 weeks. Across the globe, you see 15 weeks as a standard. I'm not saying it should be. I'm not even saying 12 weeks should be a standard. I am saying that it is clear this is where the country wants to be. That's on the subject of abortion. That is far different than whether or not they want their tax dollars to fund Planned Parenthood. And the answer there is they don't. And they're right. And the people who are demanding it are wrong. Let private charity do the rest. If you want to go fund Planned Parenthood, I am not here to stop you. And if you want to fund Tony Katz, the check gets made out to cash and then mail it to Tony Katz, Indianapolis, Indiana. I wonder if it would get to me. Don't do that. I take Venmo, Bitcoin. Do not just send a check, cash. Address it to Tony Katz and see what happens. Oh gosh, I will bet you cash money. I will bet you cash money it would come to me. It would. Defending it is right. I mean, defunding it is right. Defunding Planned Parenthood is absolutely the right move here. It 100% is. Meanwhile, the mayor of Chicago is Brandon Johnson, who has, at this stage of the game, he's never met a white person that he's liked. It's like his predecessor. I don't do interviews with white reporters, and if you ask me questions, I'm going to claim that it's your bigotry. It's nutty. It is nutty, and this happened with the Democratic mayor. Is he a socialist? Does he consider himself one of those Democratic socialists, which is another way of saying communist? Because it's all the same. This was him when asked a question.
So-called fiscally responsible stewards are making the same argument when our people wanted to be liberated and emancipated in this country. The argument was you can't free black people because it would be too expensive. They said that it would be fiscally irresponsible for this country to liberate black people. And now you have detractors making the same argument of the Confederacy when it comes to public education in this system.
The conversation was about being fiscally responsible in Chicago, which is an oxymoron. You only have so much money in a budget. How are you going to spend it? And your argument, Brandon Johnson, is if you question being fiscally responsible, if you ask about being fiscally responsible, if you discuss being fiscally responsible, well, that's akin to slavery and akin to supporting slavery. That's a take. That is a take. It is really awful when people won't just accept the fact that a question is a question is a question. And utilizing skin color or utilizing sexual orientation or utilizing religion to say, you can't ask me that question. You can ask me any question you want. I'll either answer it or I won't. This brings us to, I've had a couple people mention, one on Twitter, a troll by the name of Dustin. And then here in the comments on the live stream, where John, I appreciate you being here. Frank Luntz on CNBC is talking about Kamala Harris now doing interviews, as we were discussing earlier. She's now taking the tough interviews. It's actually Donald Trump who's ducking debates and ducking that interview on 60 Minutes. She gets credit for that. Stop it. Dustin there on Twitter X, and your terrible candidate was a no-show because of fact checks. Trump does not have to do a 60 Minutes interview. He does 900 interviews an hour. He's doing an interview all the time. He's doing an interview everywhere. He's doing an interview every place. Wait, he didn't show up to the place you wanted him to show up to, and therefore he's ducking the interviews? Could we stop it? Could we stop it? Not doing an interview with 60 Minutes is fine. Kamala Harris wouldn't do a debate with Fox. I will bet you any amount of money you want, that if Kamala Harris said, Donnie, I don't know, maybe she called him Donnie, I really think we should do another debate. So if you're willing, we can do it on Fox News and you can pick the moderators. Now that, as I hit puberty, that would put Trump in a bind. Trump would have to do that. I don't think Trump could get away from that, from that level of catnip. No way, no chance. Now, Trump could turn this around and be willing to risk it and say, hey, you want to debate? We debate on Fox, and I want Jesse Waters and Tony Katz. He's not going to ask for Jesse Waters. Don't be ridiculous. And that's the debate that we do. Are you in? Are you out? You're so desperate to debate. This is the answer. Frank Luntz is mistaken if he thinks this is moving things. She's doing the hard interview. She's failing epically at the hard interview. He's forgetting the part two of the situation. And no one's going to say that Trump doesn't talk to everyone everywhere at all times. No one's going to say, oh, he wouldn't do 60 Minutes. If you don't do 60 Minutes, you're not even a presidential candidate. That's something else. Nah, that's a misunderstanding of the situation and where we're at. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. All right. Give me a minute, guys. We'll be right back. By the way, that was the song playing at my bar mitzvah. Good to be with you. Don't forget to follow on X at Tony Katz. You can do that. I actually have a banner for that right there, right? You can follow on X at Tony Katz, Instagram as well. You can go to TonyKatz.com and be a part of what we're doing. You can email me, Tony at TonyKatz.com. We call it the show with Tony Katz. I don't know. We really call it Tony Katz Today. That's the name of the show, right? Tony Katz Today. I typed that up and there, boom. Look at that. Ain't that a beauty? Boom. Spectacular. And then sponsorship's now available. We've got that. We've got going on right there as well. We're super fancy over here. Super fancy. I am not going to get to Corinne Jean-Pierre. I don't have the. I'm going to hit that in the next hour. So you have to tune in. If you live stream, the Just the Radio Show at WIBC.com, you'll be able to hear that the Ducey, Corinne Jean-Pierre back and forth should be studied. It really should. Truly ugly from Corinne Jean-Pierre, and just a wicked misrepresentation of what it is that Peter Ducey was doing, what it is that he was going after and wanted and was trying to ask. It was purposeful, gross in every single way. So I'll have that as well. Producer Landon, how soon to her back? 1 minute. Excellent news. I like that quite a bit. You guys also know that the next 72 hours, no matter where you are, your news coverage is not going to be about the election. Your news coverage is going to be about a storm. And that is because of the size of the storm and because it allows for not putting pressure on Kamala Harris. That's what's happening. That's what's coming. Get ready for it. And yeah, that's crazy. What is with my hair back there? That's nuts. I guess I do need a haircut. Fine. I'll make it happen. I'll do it. I cannot mull it out. That's just not okay. All right, here we go. Coming up any moment now. China is penetrated networks in the U.S., grabbing information from systems that the federal government utilizes for court-authorized network wiretappings. So to translate, the Chinese have now hacked our wiretapping system. If we do not handle these people, they will handle us. if we do not handle this situation, the situation will damage us, will hurt us, and will become unrecoverable. Tony Katz today, what's going on? My good people, find everything at TonyKatz.com. 833-468-8669, 833-GOT-TONY. That's the number. That's how you get to be a part of the show. Hackers may have held access to network infrastructure. This, a story from the Wall Street Journal. To cooperate with lawful U.S. requests for communications data. The attackers also had access to other tranches of more generic internet traffic. Verizon, AT&T, Lumen Technologies, all saying that they were breached. I have made an argument now for years that when China acts inappropriately, they engage in hacking. They steal data, which they do. They steal intellectual property, which they do. The answer is take a zero from the debt that we owe them and erase it. Just erase the debt altogether. And that quickly will bring them into line. And you say to me, well, whoa, the full faith and credit of the United States is at stake. No, it is not. The United States owes no one the full faith and credit of the United States of America. If they steal from us, if they work to subvert us, to damage us, to harm us, to kill us, to destroy us, to diminish us, that is not somebody that you offer up the full faith and credit to. You do that to a friend. You do that for people who are on the up and up and engaged honestly. But if they are engaged in these types of activities, they're trying to prevent us from being able to pay them back. They're trying to damage the full faith and credit of the United States, and it must be protected at all costs. Therefore, take a zero off the debt. Take a zero off the debt, and we will have a whole different relationship with China. We'll have a whole different relationship with this country that believes that they can get away with anything they want and somehow we should suffer through it. I don't think we should suffer through anything. I think they should be very concerned. You know, it's like that old adage, when you borrow $1,000 from the bank, it's your problem. But when you borrow $1 million from the bank, it's the bank's problem. It's China's problem. And if they want to act up, they'll get less of their money back. I think that's the only plan. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, I appreciate you. We're going to continue the radio show over at WIBC.com so you can stream it there. Be sure if you're on YouTube to subscribe. Subscribe right now on YouTube. If you're on X, be sure to follow. If you're on Facebook, look, Mark Zuckerberg sucks, but we're there. So like the page. I'd greatly appreciate that as well. I don't know, where else are we? If you're on LinkedIn, hey, what's up? And if you're on the WIBC Facebook page, my home station in Indianapolis, you can like that as well. I'd greatly appreciate it. Again, follow me there on the Twitter X. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube, and make sure you follow on the Facebooks and even on LinkedIn and wherever else we are. I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Maybe I'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.